Good morning. We start with Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga. From the heart of the Savior of 100 deities of Tushita, on a peak of cloud resembling a clam of extremely white fresh curd, King of Dharma, omniscient Losandrapa, please come here together with your sons. In the sky before me, on a lion throne, lotus and moon, my perfect pure Guru smiles with delight. Supreme field of merit for my mind of faith, please abide for 100 eons to spread the teachings. Your holy mind has the intelligence that understands the full extent of objects to be known. Your holy speech with its excellent explanations is an ear ornament for those of good fortune. Your holy body is radiantly beautiful with glory renowned. To you who are meaningful to see, hear, and remember, I prostrate. Pleasing drinking water, various flowers, fragrant incense, lice, scented waters, and so forth. Oceans of clouds like offerings, both actually arranged and mentally emanated. I offer to you the supreme field of merit. Whatever non-virtue of body, speech, and mind, especially those opposite to the three vows that I have collected from beginningless time, I confess each and every one with favor and regret from my heart. You strove for much learning and practice in this degenerate age, and made your freedoms and richnesses meaningful by abandoning the 8 worldly concerns. Savior, we sincerely rejoice in your extensive deeds. Perfect, pure, holy gurus from the billowing clouds of wisdom and compassion in the sky of Dharmakaya, please let fall a rain of profound and extensive Dharma upon the receptacle of those to be subdued exactly as they need. May whatever virtue I have collected benefit the teachings and all transmigratory beings, and in particular may it cause the essence of perfect pure Losandrapa's teachings to shine forever. Sashi Chushi meto tramri rabliji nidegem padi Sange Shindu Miteua Hidrokunamdak Shila Chupasho. By the merits of having offered this mandala to Lama Tsongkhapa and his 2 sons, may I, my family members, and all sentient beings be able to meet, practice, and actualize the teachings of the victorious one, Losandrapa, who had the morality of eminently pure way of life, was courageous in extensive conduct of the sons of the victorious ones, and accomplished the yoga of 2 stages of supreme bliss and emptiness. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalaka Niryatayami. By the force of having fervently requested in this way, hollow beams of white light are emitted from the hearts of the perfect pure Father and Sons, and combining into one enter my crown. White nectar, the color of milk, flows from the opening of tube of white light, cleansing all my sicknesses, spirit harms, negative karmas, obscurations, and their imprints without exception. My body becomes as pure and clear as crystal. We recite 5-line Miktsema 3 times together. Migmetse weten chen chen rezi, dreame giempe wampo jampel yang, dupo malu jonze sawenda, kanchen kepe tsungen tsongkapa, lo sandrape shabla sowade. Migmetse weten chen chen rezi, dreame giempe wampo jampel yang, dupo malu jonze sawenda, Ganche gepe tsungen tsongkapa, losandra pe shabla sowade. Migme tsewe tenchen chen resik, dreame gempe wampo jampelya, dupo malu jonze sawenda, ganche gepe tsungen tsongkapa, losandra pe shabla sowade. And a prayer for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losang father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings. Through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and for mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in a glory for fortunate disciples.
Sanji Chödang Tsoju Chonum La Chanchu Pardu Dani Gyabsunchi Dagi Chushi Jeban Dadagi Drolam Penshi Sanjin Druparasho Sanji Chödang Tsoju Chonum Chanchu Pardu Dani Gyabsunchi Dagi Chushi Jeban Dadagi Drolam Penshi Sanjin Druparasho Sanji Chödang Tsoju Chonum La Chanchu Pardu Dani Gyabsunchi Dagi Chushi Jeban Dagi Roland Penshi Sanjin Rupara Sho Kanki Tuxini Zone Tawa Tamchi Pambichir Tambichun Tenze Kodam Tela Changze Lo Namula Yeke Nalo Nojenki Tripon Dada Mi Kenam Rokunji Ranum Chizam Tamji Kedu Dagi Chuten To Good morning, everyone. Happy Buddha's Day. Yes. Tering Nimuti Shobadele Janla.
Good morning, Geshe, Shopitele.
Tajadan Tutsik Sedana ya Mambu Yungores. Imbayana Danganzu Chik Pyogu Nanding Tony Ani Tering Nimadi Taukila Tuji Chimbo de Dembi. Democadinchi Mombozo Sangini Dujala ya Chu Toma Sonwe Nimud Chagores.
So today is a special day, an auspicious day. So we can consider for many different dates in general, but specifically when we consider in terms of the Tibetan today, the Tibetan custom, that today is a very auspicious day when the very skillful Buddha Shakyamuni, having attained complete enlightenment, turned the teachings or the will of Dharma for the very first time. That's your
Dinza Tad Chomdendigi Sanjini Dujalaya Toma Chusung Nimondelaya, Teni Jomdendi Dushaki Mitsa Maimba Sat Samba the Yashan La Soba, and it big and Chansam Nevi Sigi Sejora, Chansam Nevi, Bena Jizun Chambon Gombodan, Jambi and Janisi, and Palma Drama Soba, you Soba, and then Nankala Tsucheni, and it Domachomdendi, and it Chu Shuyores.
So the Buddha Shakyamuni, having attained complete enlightenment, he taught and shared what he had discovered with those students. So this is the first day that the Buddha Shakyamuni shared those teachings. So he didn't only teach or share those teachings with humans, but also many fortunate beings that had come to receive teachings from the Buddha. Specifically, there are many fortunate beings like the ones that are the bodhisattvas, such as the 8 lyric bodhisattvas, such as Maitreya, Chidrasik, Aryatara, and so on. So there are many great beings that even filled the entire sky that came to receive the teachings from the Buddha Shakyamuni, having attained enlightenment. Yes.
There's the Chomdending Ombazoba Sanginda, when a loot took Kachi Nayala Soba, Teni Kepa Mambulaya Tuni, Ani Chusen, Ani Digibe Kasota, Chomdendige took Tobadamas on the Macheva Chesini, Ani Chomdendige, the Gomgap, loot took in Laya Kavache, two Chene, Ani Ombazoba Sangini, Ani Chomdendige, Ani Chu Samu Shuch, and Danginia songs, in Bainaya Negap Jig and Keransula Sheba and any Kosamares, any Songchene, any Sang Gema Tagdo, Chusong Yondrachin, Chusong Yomares, the Dini Jig Benajun Chambon Combotan, Jambi and la Soba, and it light engine, Tenijik Samba the Jashan la Soba Mambu, Ya Solotamni, and Chusong Rochis. Chusong Rochis, so damni, and it's Jomden Digita, the Tering Nimodere, Bena Manzu Pebits in a pivot down to big Sebashi, Nimolaya, telling a Chusung is Shajina, Tenichi, the Kasa Kalaya, come to the Jaganalaya, and the Jomden di Lodu Kawache, Momozova Sanjiri, Slavdigita. Mitsama Betty, Jomden di Jena, Samsung, and Deba Shuj in a good day was. And it's Mitsamaimba, Bena Hat Samba the Jashan La Soba, and it Jawa Chambangoma the Children Jambian La Soba, Sama Be to Stiobanza, and it that D Nimodelia, that tragic person Sobachik. Choba Pusum Soba Drichini, and it Jomden di you are an assistant. Pep Teni Chuju Kolo Toma di Song Yosares.
So the Buddha Shakyamuni, after practicing the strict austerities and fasting for approximately 6 years, and then finally, after finishing this, he went and achieved enlightenment. Yeah. So after the Buddha achieved enlightenment, there he had many great realizations and very important understandings. So there are many during that time, during that period, there were many great scholars, but having meditated for many years and then finally achieving enlightenment, the Buddha had come to a very deep and profound conclusion. And he said that the Buddha would not teach because he had a fear that even though there were many great scholars, that they wouldn't understand what he had realized. Yeah. So, but it is famously or well known that Maitreya and the great Brahma and many other celestial deities urged and requested the Buddha Shakyamuni to, even though it is very deep and profound what he has understood or discovered, that they must understand and learn it from him. So they supplicated Maitreya and Brahma and so forth, supplicated the Buddha to share what he had taught, what he had discovered. So according to Tibetan tradition, the first time that the Buddha Shakyamuni shared what he had discovered or turned the wheel of Dharma for the first time was during the 6th month on the 4th date. So he agreed finally to share what he had discovered, and he asked those present to please listen. Yeah, that although that he had discovered something very deep and profound, having practiced and meditated austerities for many years, that all the followers that had gathered were there very eager and very, they were waiting to hear what the Buddha Shakyamuni had discovered. And so by the supplications of Maitreya and Brahma and so forth, while they were waiting for the Buddha Shakyamuni to arrive in the Varanasi, in the area where the Buddha taught for the first time, they had set up many offerings and many good seats and so forth for the Buddha to be received. So the Buddha came to a place in India, in a place called Varanasi. And this is where the Buddha Shakyamuni shared his first teachings.
Tadiri Sajadelia Nanzon Zomni Democratic Jinki Chu Thomason in Nimu Tudenki Ya Jidin Chia Chokhor Yobati Penangando Jim, same thing and Gawachimbu should those. So some said in Nalaya only Tindigi Temba Chabarwachiki Jes Chuche any Rabt Chon Teni Gevishin Tangan Samahakore Gaurumuchik Zambali Nalaya that Tindiji Yomaras, the Tindiji pe Susavilamalaya Tenche and Tela Soba. Ani Wanichik Suzu Pamali Kadinche Ani Gigin Tindilaya Teni Sanji Sonjavi Lavjatelaya Janche Lochuta Mamburinaya Jani Tigitachi Pini Yamyonda Testi Ravati and Karansun Yamdupa Ani Kodurchia Ravati Narangwani Kawasambu Shujale Sigius.
So today we have gathered here in order to practice and reflect on this very special and auspicious day. And this is due to the great kindness of the Buddha Shakyamuni. So in particular, Geshe feels that he is very happy, very joyous from the very depths of his heart to have the opportunity to share with you on this auspicious day. So, and he feels very grateful that he's a follower of such a skilled teacher of what the Buddha Shakti was, and also having the opportunity to become a monastic and have the opportunity to follow great teachers, and also to have great beings in the world, such as His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So really, from the very kindness of one's parents and our teachers, then Geshe has had the opportunity to develop a lot of experience, gather a lot of experience, and now is able to share that experience with you all, So Geshe really considers himself so very fortunate to have this situation and opportunity today.
일단 잠블린 나라야 아니 템버 로 템버 칙 레타 베는 남비 템버 칙 모던 잠블린 디나오 까완 디온디체나 아니 좀 된디 콩페버와스 콩페는 단 잠블린데 페브네 로니동 투게스 게제시고레스 다 콩페비 젤리 다 콩페니 콩기 담보 비기게 지 최 제약에 최 곰냠는 제약에 깬로디 칼 때니 총바레스 라바이나 아니 저도 좀 된데 토마 아니 갸부지 풀어야 총도스 아니 갸부 붙이디기 딱 갸칸나라야 빼 아니 지 벤저 론저 푸숨 소바 로 아니 딘디치 다 요르와스다 갸부 풀어야 로 임바이나야 아니 두스마 칠로라 페원디게 아니 지 베나타 톤주 숨쟁기 피게다 찌글라 찌 사위 동갈라 소바 시야다 아니 미임바이나야 남펜수 베 초리치 찌글라야 마가와치 찌글라야 차도시야라 소바 아니 리그 베 케바치신라 캐난 탐지리 캐난 가레리 리야부 마랭아 베 샤기리 리야부 딘디기 베로 당 베나 대산도나 간주 편수 소소소기 따리 아가 지 베베리 캐난 지지 리그레스 아니 소소 리글야 샹고지 미 샹기 리글야 통종제대 딘디기 아니 삼로디 갑 드디나 슈크침부 슈치 때 요르와스 테니 지 가시 야부인 슬랍치네 아니 기부친데 모망기 메세기 벤저다 더조사마 페저치 메셀레 요보코도 손디 따지 자원니니 치초디 나로라야 아니 참딘 춘 메바치 식치네 잠부 춘 메바치 식치네 테니 참딘 소야기 체도 다갑 두두기다 아니 산기 산마지고 베나다 아니 힌두기 케바틴디 데 마임비다 딘디 케바틴디 로 케바 망보다 케바 가이 생긴디 망불라야 바뚝체니 아니 잔댕기 람도 세온디 잠발라 세온디 로브존치는 세온디 아니 마라니 로 수칸야 라비아 메바 체니 두 지온디 테니 아니 좀 된디 에 더 야칸나니 텐친 나미 샤니 아니 곰갸 제버친 곰갸니 테니 더 잔댕기 람니샤바디 잔댕기 람니바디 디 곰갸니 뭐뭐저 산기샤바지 이바디 더 야차 야다바레스
So during our time, then in this world, the Buddha Shakyamuni has come and taught specifically about 2,600 years ago. Yeah. And after many years of practicing meditation and reflection, then we can think about what was the main motivation or what was the main impetus that the Buddha Shakyamuni met with in order to go searching for something more than what he was having at hand. Because we know that the Buddha Shakyamuni, before leaving the palace, he was the son of a king, and he had all the good resources and physical comforts as the prince. So within this environment, he still had this wish to go outside the palace grounds. And in this situation, he saw many examples of the suffering nature. Yeah. The suffering nature, for example, of animals having to compete and suffer between each other. And also in terms of humans, they are very biased and very competitive and jealous. So during the time of the Buddha, Shakyamuni, 2,600 years ago, that period was very strong for a caste division. There was a lot of division based on the different types of clans or castes according to this caste or that clan or this clan. For example, the Buddha Shakyamuni was part of the Shakya clan, and this created a very strong sense of divide within that local time society. So for example, you could say, well, it's like a Tibetan race. Or, for example, the different races that were very pertinent during this time of the Buddha Shakyamuni. And on that basis, there was a lot of the upper caste looking down on the lower caste or the lower races. So it was very strong at this time. And not only that, based on these castes, then the rich would be utilizing the labor of the lower caste or the poor people. So you could see there was a very strong disparity and inequality during this time of the Buddha. So based on the Buddha Shakyamuni seeing these sufferings based on this great inequality, then this was a very strong motivation for the Buddha Shakyamuni to set aside those comforts and even leave the palace and his nation to go in search of a response to this. Yeah. So during that time, before the Buddha Shakyamuni became enlightened, he was searching for a pure path. And during that time, there are many Hindu practitioners and meditators in that time. So the Buddha went in search of a very pure path and wanted to study and learn from these other practitioners. However, he was unable to find something that really answered his specific what he was looking for. So then we can know for sure that after a lot of reflection and meditation, the Buddha Shakyamuni was able to find this deep understanding and thereby gain perfect enlightenment or Buddhahood.
tirda tinza 좀든디 통마 아니 또 잡이 칼야 아니 가서다 바웨 칼ည니 아니 임셰요레스 부지기요레스 임바이나도 세네다지 아니 자상 찍려야 아니 고콘 대대바이나 아니 chawa lab che mangbu chik che tugu meba inza simje mangbu shiwjila ya pendo tugu meba inza ani gom gyasa pebdas chik yang satsang la tsewa meba tang susu chata ni chebi pula ya tsewa meba tsawa nini remda di tsewa wangi tsewa di gyunsen dimbi tsewa pigi ta chik semla ya nyumu tuksum le di wangi lesa legi wangi ta dungarla ya jadrug yoba di netsul di da tanda chimaru nyambi ki tsewa di yoba inza di tsewa namda res tinti ki tsewa di sula ya jarba ina ani dra nye parma sema du sudra je tuwa ina ya tsewa di lep tuwa res lenyun ki nar dingin ki kansa sudra je tuwa ina ya ani chomden di ki ani suzu shatani chebi pula ya tsewa yoba nanshin ki ani sokchak samalola ya chamzi di yungu yores kansana chamzi ki yungu ya ki gyunzen di ngi ani pena sasangri ngi puri ngi chi nyeri samsung ngi chokpuri samsung sammayinpa piki ki tsewa lepsa ki ani sokchak di le dan nyumumbi wangi le san lega wangi yang piki ki ani kewa dan gawa dan chiwala ya rama meba di ani tizigni teta chanda chi maru nyambi tsewa di inza ani sokchak samalola ya tsewa di siktukido asirwa dinza dintiki tsewa di yobasona ani chik samalola ya tatsul chikba tongsul chikba ngoni chani ki changbu changjan singi di ani nangtuko asirwa di sikni da kanji gom kyo ni sanji shaba chik resha asirwa.
So in the beginning, the Buddha Shakyamuni had a wife and a family and also had a son. So in the beginning, the Buddha Shakyamuni was staying within a balance with his family. But he saw that he wasn't in a position to advise them well. He saw that he wasn't able to be of great benefit by staying and remaining with only his family and his son in the palace. So he felt that even though it was, he felt very strong and deep love, natural love to his son and family, he didn't leave the palace because he didn't love his family or his son. But he saw that due to the three poisons of attachment, hatred, and anger, attachment, hatred, and ignorance, that this type of love in general, if it's mixed with these afflictive emotions, is not a pure type of love. And that this love that one has for their own family, it needs to be extended to all sentient beings. So, and it needs to be free of afflictive emotions. So in order to develop this type of love that he did have for his family and his son, he felt that the indispensable need to leave the palace in order to develop an afflictive-free type of love for all sentient beings, that he is already possessing for his family and his son in particular. Because he understood that based on these afflictive emotions or disturbing emotions, then one accumulates karma or the specific actions. So due to these accumulation of karma, then that that type of love is not necessarily going to be the type of pure love that one has for their own family. So this is why the Buddha saw the incredible benefit of going out and reflecting and meditating.
대장안주 남주기 착당 rakbajora pena chakpa shukchen shedangdan chakdola soba dindigi lod pa chikani ani malhölchin samlatangdi nguyu ni chu singin tongyo sares ra nguyu khareslana pena ngar samalo tempena delanganzu minyongshi modo yomar nganzu minyongshi dia imbayna ya duste ondige ani sobda mandrawa ani chi lomba mandrawa tindi yungu yoras inaya ngan samalo chikpa imbi chokji yoras ta ngan sama chikpa imbi chokdi 좀든지 디스기도 다 nganzu chikpa imbi chakari yoras ngan samaloya ro nganzu sokcha imba chikpare nganzu me imba chikpare nganzu dewa dyogu yoba chikpare nganzu dunghan dyogu meba chikpares ro chikpa imba tolaya samlo tangwana teni chakpa diya nyon drogo sares kansana pa chakwa eskiyo mar rangda shen chikpa chakoros shedang chikogo mari chikpa chakoros chakdo chikogo mari chikpa chakoros du siwondigi ani kanchi chomden digi labjalaya lamngin jimbayana nanzu chikpa imbi cholaya kadzuziki susuma dechinarwa ani rangda shenyi chikpa imbi chakari yomi di tolaya samloji tambayana gyacha gyatamba pendo yungu yosares
So when we consider the very coarse level of attachment, anger, jealousy, and so on, then we can think about ways in order to stop or reduce these. So then by gaining on that basis, by gaining a more relaxed mind, then it's much more easier for us to see the actual or the real situation. Yeah. So you can see that when our afflictive emotions are reduced or stopped, then even the shape or the appearance is going to be differing, yeah, based on a more relaxed mind. So we can consider, well, what are the same aspects that we have with others, ourselves, or even the Buddha, the same aspects in terms of we are all possessing life, we have a life force, we are human, we are the same in wanting happiness, and we're all the same in not wanting unhappiness or not wanting suffering. So if we're able to reduce or stop these afflictive emotions, and we think that we're all the same in not wanting to experience attachment, jealousy, anger, and so forth, then we can understand that the Buddha Shakyamuni gave very perfect advice, and so in order for us to look at the many different aspects of our sameness, yeah. So if we think in terms of ourselves and in the same way of others, we are all the same in not wanting to experience unhappiness, wanting to experience happiness, and so forth. So it's certain that this way of thinking is very beneficial. Masula.
There's a do some down the Tartu on the same come the Jark Dosra, John the Deo Deva the Dungam Deva Chikbar said. The detail like Kazus some down to Vena, Devan Deva the Dungam Deva chiguri yimbi ta gyunsen ji yor ta gyunsen ani samdan pena ta kangala ba jarchin ro mitsa mayimba an thundru busing kandrajila pha jawa na phigi ge ani karso ta ji ke gyabdan ani lug namgyur ani rotan dutan khawala teba ina ya Duchen dug maybe ge number chi thayung gre ma to Duchen dug yoba ji sawni yo marwas tinashin ge devan dug yoba ji ki gyunsen ji thayung gre ma to devan dug maybe gyunsen ji sawni yo mar tu samdown di deva deva ta Duchen man deva chigyu imba the same thing ni pe ngeban yesh ro same thing ni ngeban yesh yung yores.
So if we think in this way, then we can understand that ultimately this wish or our understanding of sameness of all beings, this is basically relating to one's own mind or consciousness. The Buddha was speaking specifically in terms of our own mind or consciousness, the fact that we want happiness and that we don't want suffering, and that specifically we're all the same in this wish or this way of thinking. Not only humans, but also the animals and insects are the same in wanting to experience happiness and not wanting to experience suffering. Yeah. So if you can see very clearly, it's demonstrated if an animal is experiencing discomfort or suffering, that it cries out, yeah, and it runs away. You can see that there's no special sort of reason for it to be thinking, oh, I want to have an unpleasant experience. But really, it's very clear that even the insects and animals do not want to experience unpleasantness and only want to be uncomfortable and happy. So we can see on our own sort of understanding, on our own experience, that we are all the same in wanting happiness and not wanting to experience suffering. And then if we think very deeply about that, we can develop a conviction from the very depths of our heart with this simple way of thinking. Yes.
There's 좀 전에 통마 아니 안 삼아 찍바리 송디게 릭 토드조게 릭 마오도졸이야 다 콘존의 간줄에 릭 마오리 간줄 릭 토이 삼비기 페나 나르길 케딩이 속이 나와려야 단 통마 단 로그요 말아왔어 로그요 말 페나 간줄 디나와려야 페나 아니 벤줄 약부 영해제다 빵고진이 냠들려나 아니 게 결혼이 찍바리에서 나와야나 벤주 영애들 롱랑로 그러다. 코방거는가 죽부이 같이 찍바 차그래 삼삼 땡땡 용시 그러스. 근데 간단 거뭐 수삼다나 방고디에 대원 되고요. 동안 되고요 말에. 안 계란기에 대원 되고요. 동안 되고요 말. 찍바 찍견 차요라스.
So in the beginning, the Buddha Shakyamuni said that relatively we are all the same, we are all equal. So remember that the Buddha Shakyamuni was speaking to an audience during that time, that there are higher castes and lower castes, yeah, lower races or higher races, yeah. So here we can see that when we can compare these two castes, then really there's no need for developing pride, because the Buddha Shakyamuni was saying that regardless of your race or caste, we are equal in the same of wanting happiness and not wanting suffering. So you would think that if a rich person or a person of much wealth went and met with a poor person or a beggar, then they would become quite upset or even angry when the Buddha Shakyamuni said that they are both equal, you would think that the rich person would be very upset, saying that I'm not equal or the same with this lower caste or poor person. But the Buddha would respond in saying, yes, you are the same in terms of both of you both want to be happy, and both of you both want to not experience or do not want any suffering. So in this way, you are both exactly or 100% equal or the same.
Then that too si kanji devan the dongamun deva chigures. Kerang devan degu yoba nanshin, pajami devan degu yores. Dongan degu meba nanshin, pajami dongan degu yomar chigyan res. Then kerang la dongan jongwaina. Ani kerang la ya mundeba, mageba kazus yongudo. Then nanshin pasho de la yongures. Tu son dige. Ani Geshe jatama semle ngeba nyeji yong sarwasra. Tu leondi rangi digi kichedo mishenla dunga tsao nini. Ta soguyo marta chomden digirwa. Tinza chomden digi lam de la ya tseo mebi lam sayadi. Diriji chagdorwa. Ngansu ta mishibi wangi. Ani chik pi sem nyumu shuk chebi wangi. Rangi digi kichedo shenla ya kyongtang deya. Shenla ya dunga tre deya. Di yungu yorwas. Di chambu shena di chandin chagawa maresra. Chambu chanja mares di. Susu di dewa drup chogore. Susu dunga se chogore. Di topdang re. Imba ina susu gui dewa yongya kichedo mi shenla ya dunga tre bana di topdang yo marwas. Susu degi kichedo mi shenla ya dunga tre topdang di sutre yo marwas. Di chawa di cheba ina di Geshe gyatama chambu marwas. The dinti la sobi gitni one tani gi rindan dembi labja mambu shochi. Ani chomden di sangi ni zamblin la ya shado asra.
So in this way, likewise, you and others are the same, yeah? So the way that you wish to experience happiness and not experience suffering, likewise, the other wishes the exact same. So for example, if you, due to a lack of understanding or due to your afflictive emotions, that in order to gain your own happiness, you think that giving discomfort or causing suffering in another, then we can see that this is not an honest way to go about it, because we understand that when you feel uncomfortable, discomfort or suffering, then you can reflect, well, how unhappy, how much mental discomfort do I have? Yeah. So in the same way, it is exactly the same experience that you have that the other person will experience if they are having that same suffering or uncomfortable situation. So if we, for the sake of our own happiness, for the sake of our own purpose, if we unwittingly even inflict suffering and discomfort on another, then this is not a very honest way or honest or a nice way to go about it. So the Buddha Shakyamuni is advising us, so in order to gain our own happiness, that we don't inflict harm on others. So he actually taught the path of non-violence, yeah? So we can think that it's really not our right in order to inflict suffering or discomfort on others in order to gain our own happiness, yeah? This is not an honest way or a very nice way at all, yeah? So, and they really, in turn, the other person has every right to experience happiness and comfort, in the same way that you do. So this is really very valuable indispensable advice that the Buddha Shakyamuni gave to us in the world. That's it.
아니 다 최송요래스라 최토마 송인데 뎀바시 생인데 송로스라 디 난게다 난 참말로게다 문제야 동화 인장 동화 두고 매바 있나야 아니 동화 규마체도 용되게 여반자 다 동화 디 뭐만트비 왕기 동화 임바 비 동화디 ngô yak buj manchu bi wangi dunga mando na ya dunga yon de yo ba yinza ani thoma dunga ngo te adreshas ani dungar ti taji nganzu garzo taji ani chogo to ya da jingo na ya da ji pi ji ga chogo na ya dunga sam mayin ba ani dunga sam mayin ba ta nganzu la ya ji ani kewa ani gewa 치와라야 라마 메비 동아르 줘라 저 딩오드 난도스 다 디기 짜와디 라만 총행 그 짜와디 가르레스 라운디 뉴몽 생이디 라 디시아원디게 뎀바니바티 차게도스 군중 칸라덴 종사 규 군중 세트 차게도스 다디 뉴몽 디 메바소에 요르요 말스나 게제시아원디 뉴몽 세비 세바 생이디 gordens lagores dishegores dembasumba tan gorden nyumu sebe sebachi nyumu sebe yigyona kalten segores ladita zu lamsna zu di ani namjure dosra namju sherab set be ani pena taji socha shenla mebi namju melaya namju yagujara dig namju dig tonida 아니 배주지는 뉴무세 두고 연자 남주도 거야 남이 뎀바스 뎀바시바도 송요레스
So through this thinking and motivated by this thinking, the Buddha Shakyamuni taught the first set of teachings that understood that even though we do not wish to experience suffering, that even though we wish to avoid it, that actually there is a possibility of learning how to identify what those sufferings are and then practicing in a way that we learn how to reduce and avoid it. So this is where the Buddha Shakyamuni taught the first teachings on the Four Noble Truths. On that basis that even though we want to experience happiness and not experience unhappiness, but we still undergo these suffering experiences. So this is due to our misunderstanding and lack of proper awareness of what those causes of the sufferings are. So this is why the Buddha Shakyamuni taught the first noble truth, the truth of suffering or the truth of dissatisfaction, in order to introduce us to what suffering is in actuality, from the very basic suffering that we can easily understand, like physical stomach discomfort, for example. But not only that he taught us that the nature of birth and death, we do not have any control or freedom or choice over our birth and our death. And the very root of the this lack of control or a lack of freedom over birth and death is actually the Buddha taught as the second noble truth, the truth of origination, or the truth of causation as the second noble truth. So then in order to learn the methods to remove and completely cause our cessation of these suffering experiences. Yeah, the Buddha Shakyamuni taught the third noble truth, the truth of cessation. Yeah. And in order to achieve that, the fourth noble truth, the truth of the path, or leading to that cessation, the Buddha taught that by using our human intelligence, that is really exclusive to the human situation, that we're able to reduce and in fact completely remove those afflictive emotions, yeah, that are disturbing our mental continuum. Yeah. So this is the Buddha Shakyamuni taught this fourth noble truth, the truth of the path, for this purpose.
the Lamji Demba said the song, the Demba Shiva the song, the Tini, the Namjo Pusum Soba Yongyalaya, and the same situ to Neach, Ranganzo Samada, Manda Corbalina, Pig Sem, and Negos at the Sewage Tongo Marosra. These are any thing is the singing, that she is singing the Godos. Labosumdi. Sherab di Numung Sevalaya, Metamed Sherab Purtuchuma Yongalia, Tenginzin, Tembu Yabuji Yongalia, Tsultrim Godos. Tsultrim, the Lamki Tembashi the Labasum Soyores. Then Piggy, and it seven maybe Sanji, seven maybe that going to shoot there, seven maybe that do the shizu, Chinny, and he Labasum the Tayores.
So the fourth truth, the truth of the path. So this is something where we can use our intelligence and our own awareness. But in order to generate a very clear and stable and correct type of intelligence and like mental penetration, then we need to develop a single pointed focus and using that intelligence. Yeah. So usually our awareness or our focus is very unclear. But by using single pointed meditation, such as cultivating karma putting and concentration, that clarity and awareness becomes much clearer. Yeah. So this is depending on practicing and engaging the three higher trainings. So on the basis of how practicing the higher training of ethical discipline, we can cultivate a very stable concentration. Yeah. And then on that basis, by the Buddha Shakyamuni we spoke about earlier, he developed a teaching and advice based on non-violence. So on this way of practice of non-violence, then we can develop a very stable level of concentration and develop that mental clarity. So this is where we can practice in terms of the three higher trainings.
There's a Bena Tsultrim Gilava Sondi, and the Megijabunk, Tsultrim Sondi, and a Sokchabati, Toma Delia, and a Sokche Rungumares. Ra Gomuluruk Sonjare, Gabuki, Sokchu Manzichi, Geokon la Son Shun the Pans. Gomulurugi Rinchen Tawa, Gabula Tamrin Chentawans Lara.
That's it.
Gabula Tamrin Chentawa, Rinchen di Gomulurugi Chokbo, Jenda, Tindigi, Gabujidwa, Telaya, Ani Yigitan. Rinchen Tawa said, Gabu Delaya, Lavja Gavni, Yigitan Shakush Redwas. Tinan Lolaya, Gombuluru Carson, and Gabu Chirangi, Sheng so much is. And 속착 참말로 랑기 속라야 아니 판선 맹인지 수치가 요 말했어. 참말로 소소 속디 제대 지그레스. 로. 데레 속 제대 지그레 속잖아 셴라 누구요레 셴라 동안 징구요레 셴라 세워 차가 요반자 속주 만제스. 로. 메기 주봉 좀 통마 송디 속제 만제스야디 셴기 속라 누구 요반자 셴라 누구 요반자 소수 속제바나 소수라야 문제바도 동안 가지요바나 셴라 디용구 요반자 티 타무레문도 티 야부레문도 탐절로 속라 제대 메징이 지야문도 속 마체스 랍제 디갸브라스라 티좀는데 다 공부 탈투고 직차고레스
So in terms of the higher trainings, the first one is that of the higher training of ethical discipline. And this relates basically to the refraining from the 10 non-virtues or the 10 negativities. So of the 10, the first one is that of refraining from killing. Yeah. So there was a letter that was written by Great Master Nagarjuna to a king. Yeah, so the king was the Great Master Nagarjuna's sponsor and friend. Yeah, so in the middle way precious garland text that Nagarjuna wrote, he included this specific letter of advice to his friend and sponsor, the king. So in this letter of advice, the Nagarjuna said to the king that do not harm, do not kill others. He advised in this way, because there is, in the same way that you yourself wish to protect your life, that others would experience great disappointment and great sadness that if they experience their own loss of life. Yeah. So Nagarjuna advised very strongly to the king in its letter to refrain from harming others and specifically refrain from killing, because this activity is a very dishonest or unruly type of activity and is very harmful and leads to a lot of disappointment and loss of their other's life. Yeah. So on the basis of the Buddha Shakyamuni's ultimate thought or view to refrain from harming others, the great master Nagarjuna advised this king in his letter. Let's see that.
Gyabu deju sambo singindi gyabu deju sambo singindi tangumuludugi chokpo yakshu chigredo asra gumuludu chokpo yakshu telia gumuludugi pe tseo shu yorada kansana ane chokpore gyabure ane gumuludugi tan pena ane nalendalaya shuche nalendagita manager dawchin gyurumbu shuda tichidige
Gerboti ni nalantala manager de
gumuludu
Aleo, let's see that.
gumuludu ta du shooting nalendagita chi thaba tomna delaya chi shelare ani thinking chane ani penju tolaya samdang godi gyabu dela labshana langsa gyabu digi jinda chigdos ani gumuludu gita gomba mambu shang yore gomba shang di gyabu dela labshana gyabu di jinda chigdos chodin shang gyabu dela gyabu di jinda chigdos nazul dindi goya re dosra
Yeah. So Nagarjuna was really quite close with his king. You could even say that they were best friends. Yeah, they had a lot of love between them. So Nagarjuna, Great Master Nagarjuna, was residing at the Nalanda University. In fact, he was a manager of Nalanda University. So he was in charge of the various giving out of food and sharing of resources. So the king was the sponsor. So every time that Nagarjuna requested that he required something further, such as further food, or wanted to build a temple or a stupa, then he requested the king, and the king would supply anything that Nagarjuna requested of him. So Geshe feels that it would be really good to have such a sponsor with us today. We really need one of those kings. So let's pray that we get a king like that to be of sponsorship for here.
부tro마지나 트르도그레 도그지나 트르도그레 벤 랑보지나 쿠솔라 누 속라 년가 여서섬나 야체야다마 트르도그라스라 딘자 속라 팡바 맹이지 속차 직양다 메레스라 들다 딘자 아니 속제나 롱금도 세트 라 속제나 nga digbasagudu se ditsamayimba nga nyewa kidro se ditsamayimba 속잖아 셴라 룽금도스 셴라 누구도스 로 어디잖니 속마체스 아니 마진발렘바이나 셴기 론줄은 누구도스 셴라 네버차고도스 안 마비셰바나 셴고거 땅주고도 셴라 누구도스 셴임 제바이나야 셴라 누구도스 어두신의 간지 딘디진다 수름글라바드 and the power is.
So there really isn't anyone or any sentient or conscious being that wouldn't experience a sense of loss and disappointment if they lost their life. Yeah. So because you can see clearly that insects, ants, and even an elephant, if they have a fear that they're going to lose their life, or they feel that their life is in danger, then it's certain that they're all going to be running away and trying to escape. So there really isn't anyone or anything that exists that wouldn't be disappointed and feel a great sense of loss if they lost their own life. Yeah. So this is why it's really unsuitable to engage in activities of causing harm and specifically killing others. Yeah. So we don't only think in terms of, well, if I engage in killing something, that I'm going to receive a negative karma or a negativity. We think that, well, actually it's causing a great harm and a great loss to the other person or the other little being. Yeah. So in the same way, stealing. So we think that there'll be a great loss in terms of the other's resources if we engaged in the act of stealing. And in the same way, if we deceive others in order to increase our own gain, then this is very harmful in terms of gaining the other person's resources. Yeah. So in the same way that it's very harmful if we engage in sexual misconduct, that is very causing a lot of mental discomfort and a great harm for others. So this is ultimately, all of these practices and restraining from unethical behaviors is falling into the training on ethical discipline. That's her.
These are kanji 정도 되게 최 도마송에 덴바 시디다 단nen가 사우 쇼치 라 배는 안주 수수수 송집 지헬이야 데버맹이 지어 말았어 송집 약슈디 덴바 신냠슬랜디 차기어레스라 난주기 자당 년당 바르마당 지금 문제받아 지금 용대야 참로디 뉴문가 때문에 연구열했어. 뉴문 맹행이 강사들이야. 자요 말이, 동아요 말이, 마치바요 말이, 참안디바 지금 매버지. 대원 바시진 되기도 하더라. 뉴문 쟁기 강사다 강조도래야. 가도 있나야. 아니 비기다 지 두빈년다 차비 동아. 문제바 비기 자단 차비 동아. 아니 지금 대원 마카미 동아. 여바이나야 디송집 제마통이 샘그 강할 망부 쇼지 용대야디 아니 뉴무 샘 뉴무 소고레스 다 디셀텝 제야기 탑시디 디바강고 제야디 뎀바시 냠는 그 톤이 용거로마도 젬바 간이자라고 말했어요.
So the Buddha Shakyamuni, with his teaching of the Four Noble Truths at the beginning, has a very salient reason in order to teach this particular type of teaching from the outset. So we can understand that the Four Noble Truths is really the best method in order to protect us. Protect us from developing those afflictive or disturbing emotions. So if we put into practice or implement the teachings of the Four Noble Truths, then these divisions of holding others distant or people very sort of neutral or close, these demarcations, they're really created by our own disturbing emotions, or our afflictive emotions, our afflictions. So whenever we meet with the suffering or problematic situations, we meet with who we consider as an enemy or somebody that we dislike, or we meet with problem makers, then we experience a sense of unhappiness and suffering. But this is really coming from our own afflictive emotions, our own minds. So if we put into practice this advice that is given in the Four Noble Truths, then this is the best method that we will find that will, in order to protect us, or guard us against those afflictive emotions. And you really won't find this type of solution in any other area, any other advice. That's it.
There's a kanji jada mundebada te samalo susu semge chagdang toni chegores semge toni chegores can gulaya chagdang nimu mena and mit samalo kerang nyen chagres Chokhor chagres can gula nimu yobanza 아니 파쇼마 달아 차도야지 달아야지 디소스 뉴문 소고요 디 야자 야당 버렸어
So where we label others as an enemy or somebody that we dislike, then this is due to our afflictive emotion such as attachment or anger. And this is mainly a mental consciousness, part of our own mind, So if we do not have attachment or anger, for example, then we can come to regard all others as being close ones or friends even, yeah. So this is, but due to our affective emotions, these distinctions are being created. So we can come to, with reflection, we can come to a certainty, and we can ascertain that really the affective emotions are the ones that are creating this sense of distinction. That's
Panda Guya in the Gomgian, Nimu Panda, some trouble chagres. Ninja love to use the
So Geshe will can testify that he has certainty that you're able through meditation and reflection be able to abandon these afflictive emotions and have all people and regard all people as being close and friends.
The Zambalin Nolaya, Yaurmuchilaya, Kashimpe, Mimambu Chigdota. Kazna, Yaurmujigi, and Chagdangi, Jawant Makivachin, Chamba the Ninji Tony, same thing, Chamba the Ninji Tony, Melavsha Jaganza, Gavushu Chigda. Nganzu, Kabjilama Sobormuchi, Nganzu Mambu, Jeroda, Rakon Kawa, Pevnaya. Get the temper Sibu shoes there. Yama Doji Delanga, Rumuji Yamdu, Choden la Corandondi. The Chigi, Chodeng Chilaya, Kikambo Mambuyers, Kidabo Mengi, to Zo Imbana, Rumuji Jari with us. The Gangus Tonsons. The Karisana, Chamzegi, Ra, Be Chadang Yumu Pakani, Chamzekora, Yamlin Droganza, Ben Tundrusum Jane, so Gavachi does. Mide imbaro o dindireshas.
So in our world, people really love His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Yeah, they really adore His Holiness the Dalai Lama because he's always offering advice with great love and compassion. Yeah. So without any form of anger or attachment, His Holiness the Dalai Lama is sharing his advice with great love, and people respond to that and love him back, yeah, and adore him back. So also Geshe observed Lama Zopa Rinpoche that wherever he goes, for example, when Geshe and Lama Zopa Rinpoche were making circumambulation at the Bodh Gaya Mahapati Stupa, that he saw Lama Zopa Rinpoche that when he was making the circumambulation, that stray dogs would walk directly out to Lama Zopa Rinpoche and enjoy Lama Zopa Rinpoche's company. And this is really due to the fact that Lama Zopa Rinpoche has no attachment or afflictive emotions, but only practices love, not towards not only humans, but also animals as well. So he Geshe saw very clearly this in practice when he was close to Lama Zopa Rinpoche.
Ta Ningu Jaurmuchi Tatoni, Kajunangados, the Desa Jaurmuchi Kachu, the Mangchadi, Chanjuk Semda, Ani Sherab Kolaya Sungores, Sherab Kolaya Sungor, that did the Keshe Chamba singing it, Chamba Zewa singing the and Samolaya, Busin Sunjun, Samolaya, Socha Samolaya, and Chamba the Zewa singing, Gogi or that Chamze Gogi Banza, a dick kitchenpo jealous sitchini, Samja Tamjala Gogi Abadi, Chamzinza, and Chamzi Labshatita, Kadu Inaya. Nimasum la Kachunamana, Nimasum Grilea, Chamzi Sungris. Nimachula Kachunamana, Nimatakpa Chamzi or Sungris, Yawarmuchi. Di Annie tukla sharo chis ro nga zu chomden de chungkor tomo kowe tudengi nga zu semla ya shaya zu di chomden de labja ya shu di jamze gi nyamnen tres ro di kazu tudu chik nyamnen chewana ani mesedi tangoni mililam ta gobardo di tagarang gobar chubjogo sares ro
Miloblam. Milulam, yana miloblam.
milu
Milu.
lamba
That's it. So His Holiness the Dalai Lama this afternoon will be giving teachings and advice, yeah? So mainly His Holiness the Dalai Lama, when he speaks and teaches, is usually in relation to the two, the mind of enlightenment of bodhicitta and wisdom. And these are the most important. So they're related also to the practice of love and loving kindness, yeah? So even down to the smallest insects, all sentient beings are in need and require a sense of love and loving kindness directed towards them. Yeah. So we consider that all sentient beings have this wish, and His Holiness the Dalai Lama, regardless if he's teaching for 3 days, it's always about love and loving kindness, yeah. Or if it's for 10 days, it's always about the loving kindness. So please keep this advice within your heart and practice accordingly to the best of your ability, because kindness and love is really the main salient teaching of what the Buddha Shakyamuni advised us. Yeah. So based on our human condition, then we try to have the best of our ability to practice love and loving kindness. That's all.
terda yang gomya de ro yang gom de ge ta cham badan sebi ge sambat te da sosu semni de chigba cha ro je ro sare ro pe ro ja ba na nganzu chana lo ro ta chana lo ma lu ni ma lu ba samji ge pi ta ta chigba cha go mo da truk truk mang sta ma na pe ngo ye me cha ro ras tenang shin yang gom ya ta gom ja se zo di tanda kitchen bu di yang sam na ya gom ya dire dos teaching on di ani suzu sam dan je chene ani sam di nyumu bi on the mason wa ani sam gyo dro ya chik ro tanda ga ge to ma me ban ni nyumu bi chon le den za sam da nyumu ni chik pa so ro cha chi ro kanga de che go ra ta 아니 뉴무 갑디 비 잠지 로디 야야 공바이나 뉴무 있기는 샘수 텐션 잠지던 데도 왔어요. 그래서 디고 왔어요. 다로 도대체 다 인스라.
That's her. So if we reflect again and again on a regular basis, we can start to mix and make our mind much more integrated with love and kindness. Yeah. So for example, it's like when we add milk or something extra into one's tea, then if we actually stir it to begin with, it's not mixed very well, but if we stir it again and again, it becomes something that is really indivisible from that tea. Yeah, the milk becomes much more inseparable from the tea. So in the same way, if we practice and reflect again and again on a regular basis, our thoughts of love and kindness, then it's becoming much more inseparable from our own mind. Yeah. So, however, since beginningless time or time immemorable, our afflictive emotions have been the dominant mixed factor within our own mind. Yeah. So now we need to ensure that we mix love and kindness in our own minds instead of this dominant, afflictive, or disturbing emotions. This is what we really need: is that love becomes inseparable from one's own mind. So, and this is what I would like to share with you today. My Geshe I would like to share with you today. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Final Lamrim dedication. For my 2 types of merits was a space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a grand land of time. May I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all life's Manjushri. May I find the best of complete graded paths of the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by my practice. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings. With the points of the path that I have discerned them, may I uphold the Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion, in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted boundless peace, and the Buddha's needs be nourished for a long time. By even this graded path to enlightenment completed, due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all human and non-human beings eliminate adversity and create conducive conditions for practicing the excellent paths. Never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may he always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. Thank you.